You're listening to Behind the Bulldogs on News Radio WBRN.
Off the left side to the end zone. Touchdown Bulldogs.
If I'm even having like a bad day on the course or something, I just look down at it and just feel like thankful that I'm able to be out there.
Making sure that we're like where our feet are and we're not thinking about outside distractions.
Welcome in to another summer edition of Behind the Bulldogs. Brandon Worth, Brody Kaiser with you here today. Thank you all so much for tuning in, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts with us, or if you're listening on WBRN. We welcome you in. This is a Ferris State Sports podcast, and today we are going through every sport at the University, Brody. I mean, pretty much piece of cake, right?
I mean, it's that time of year. We're almost at August, which we started these in May, right? That's 2 months ago. It just doesn't seem real, but here we are, almost August, so that means previews are coming.
Absolutely. So we're going to go through every team and give you at least some insight, not a full preview. You can obviously look out for more of those as we get closer into the end of August and the beginning of September. But initial thoughts, some big things to look out for each sport here on the episode. And we're going to make it as condensed as possible, but bear with us. There's a lot of teams to go through now that we've added a couple more since we did this a couple years ago for the first time.
Yeah, really good stuff. Cheer Stunt, that's the big one that we just added. It was a very successful first campaign, and I think the growth potential for that sport is super high.
Absolutely. And if you want to see where your team of choice that you want to hear about, check the description in the time codes. Big thanks also goes out to Johnson's Automotive, foreign or domestic. They can help fix your vehicle. Johnson'sAutoBR.com. You can give them a call, visit online at their Big Rapids or Mount Pleasant location. All right, let's get right to it. Brody, let's start with the big one. Everybody wants to know, is this team going for 5 out of 6, this football squad? Best schedule, I think, on paper, that this team's going to have over that span, and a lot of anticipation, knowing a lot of guys are going out, but the core is still there, and especially our man under center, Wyatt Bauer.
Yeah, I mean, Wyatt's going to be one to watch. I think Tarek Bauer, another name to seriously pay attention to. I mean, Sandy has mentioned I think Sandy even mentioned his name on the podcast that Sandy was on, but Tarek should have a big season. It seems like the football team loses star-studded players and talent every year, but they just recycle. They've got an amazing system in place for redshirt guys, young guys as they come through the program. Tim Allen, who's one of the stars now on the team, he was a redshirt. He was a practice squad guy or a scout team guy when he first started, and now he's started back-to-back national championships. So there's just a ton of talent on that team. They'll reload, and I think if you were a betting person across the country, you'd probably place a wager on Ferris State.
Absolutely. I love where our defense is going to be.
Yes.
The depth there has been incredible. The position that I'm watching, receiver. A lot of seniors last year, losing guys like Brody, Cam Underwood, those guys, right? So what is going to happen there? I think that's the ultimate question for football fans.
Yeah, it's the big question, but at the end of the day, we rely on TA from the sideline. His system is amazing. It's hard to defend, and when you've got speed that's returning like Tariq Brett, Reek can really fly, and so that's a utility piece, a fun piece that TA gets to play with.
Absolutely. 1 of 2 guys representing at Media Day, which you can find out more, FerrisStateBulldogs.com. All right, let's scoot on over to another national team. Let's talk about this volleyball squad. Back-to-back Elite Eights this past year, as we talked with President Pink last week. Great episode. You can find that wherever you found this show. I mean, just talk about the resilience of this team. And now they have landed some significant Division II transfers on this squad. I mean, Ava Irvin is one that we've seen in this conference, right? And has been one of the top players. Now she's going to be wearing the crimson and gold. A couple other huge transfers, as well as some big freshmen that are ready to take some big steps. I mean, is it fair to say, let's do it a third time?
Yeah, it's tough because what a difference a year makes in terms of expectation, right? A year ago today, we were talking about how this team lost 5 All-Americans from the first squad that made the Elite Eight. I can't remember the exact number, but a lot of really elite talent. Not just like, oh, okay, they're good players. No. Some of the best players in the country were on that squad. Tia was the national coach of the year. They come into the next season and people are like, it's Ferris State, it's Tia, they'll probably figure it out. Boom, they're right back at the Elite Eight. And now all of a sudden, the expectation is more along the lines for this upcoming season as it was 2 years ago. So how does the squad handle it? I think it's going to be just fine. I think that they're probably a favorite to come out of the Midwest region once again. We're hoping that we can get past that Elite Eight game, though.
I love the defense that we're returning, right, with Hope Davies.
Oh, so good.
Great play that we had this last year. And obviously still have a lot of firepower. Emily May, Gabby Piazza offensively, Haley Wagner, one of the best IQ players in Division II. And not only that, I'm looking forward to our home tournament that a lot of people don't know is going to be happening. It's going to be August 27th to the 29th. On that list, the very, very first game How about the national champions, MSU Denver?
Love it.
Bring it on. You want to beat the best? Number one on the list. Here we go.
2 teams for Ferris State that will kick off the season, essentially, along with soccer, who we'll get to in just a second. But football and volleyball. They're playing not only playoff teams, but some of the best teams in the country to start their seasons.
Should be absolutely an electric opening weekend. And you mentioned soccer, Brody. Let's scoot on over to them. We talked a little bit about some of the big competitions and games that they got coming up. We're going to be talking about Grand Valley, obviously, is a great team. And a lot of those other games where they're going to be traveling, Southwest Minnesota State, Concordia St. Paul, right? Both of those are going to be late August road games. This team, I think, has the biggest chip on their shoulder because a lot of people are saying that, the Final Four year was great, but consistent success. We've seen the flashes, but the consistency, right, getting into the national tournament hasn't happened since then, and the conference tournament has given us some trouble, whether we've played the regular season good or not. I see this year's squad, with Catherine Welch returning, a lot of those key pieces. This is a chip on your shoulder year.
Yes.
I'm excited to see what this team does.
I think it's going to be a little bit different style soccer too, which is weird to say considering, Greg has had so much success coaching high-level soccer in a certain way, that being defensive focused, possession of the ball. But we've got good goal scorers now on this roster. You mentioned Catherine Welch, Izzy Barron's great in the midfield, Natalia Levin, same thing. But we brought in some younger players who sat a little bit more last year as true freshmen. They should have bigger roles this year. The freshmen coming in to this squad this season, more on the goal scoring side. And I really like that pairing with Corinne Erke in between the pipes. So obviously you lose Bella Valoni and Ella Wolf, who were 2 staples of the back line. You return Lauren McCall, who played every game as a freshman. I'm just really excited to see if maybe there's a little bit of a shift in focus from the defensive side to goal scoring. I'm not sure that'll be the case. I just have a hunch.
I think there's going to be some changes. Coach Henson's a great coach, and he's going to make some changes this year. So I think that's what we're really excited. Maybe it's formation, maybe it's style, but there's one thing that's for sure. The grit of this team isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, teams don't like to come to Big Rapids, that's for sure, because they know what they're getting into.
Yeah, it's either going to be a very physical match or there's going to be snow, or more times than not, both.
Or both, yeah, exactly.
All right, let's scoot on over now to cross country. Speaking of sports that compete in the snow, there's certainly some expectations for this team this year. They did well in GLIAC, right in the middle of the road, and this is a very tough conference, as I have lived through as my time in a college athlete too. This will be an interesting year because you have a lot of the blue chip mentality guys that really had some tough luck last year. Aaron Bowerman was one guy that really stood out that had some injuries. Obviously, a lot of those upperclassmen, those transfers now, those seniors and juniors are moving on, right, with their eligibility gone. So now you're looking at the next generation of guys. There's a lot of young guys on this roster. You look at guys like Carson Burko. You look at a lot of these other guys as well. In the distance department, there was a lot of really good mid-distance success in the track and field circuit. Now we're going to see if the distance group can really push forward, especially in the fall on the grass. You look at guys like Emmett Johnson that did very well last year. Ben Knuth, the same. You're going to be looking at those young guys to fill the shoes, no question about it.
Yeah, when Emmett won the Bulldog Invitational last year, we talked to him right afterwards, and it wasn't like he was surprised. Right. And I think that's the mentality that this team needs to start adopting. Yes, there's been middle of the pack finishes. Yes, there's great competition in the GLIAC, but it's in there. We're capable of doing it. We need these young players to step up, and I think they will as they gain more maturity and more experience. So I think the mindset needs to start shifting from, we can do it to we expect to do it, and that'll be a huge change.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of transfers as well coming in, even from intra-conference transfers. And that's something that hasn't happened in a long time in terms of when I've been here. That has not been something. So that's going to be very interesting to follow along with a lot of these guys and gals that have competed in this conference and know how tough it is too.
Yeah, familiarity can make a big difference. You see that a lot in college athletics now, especially with NIL and things like that. It seems to be particularly prominent in the hockey world for some reason. I don't know if there's a difference in the way that players transfer and the familiarity with playing teams more than once, but that familiarity with a conference really can make a big difference. So I'm excited to see how the teams race.
Yeah, and I think the running community definitely brings a big part
for sure.
in that
100%.
Well. Yeah, now let's go to, I would call it the bridge sport of fall and winter. That was your sport of choice last couple of years with hockey. Of course, it's a winter sport, but it starts in October. So is it fair to call it a fall sport? I don't know.
You can pretty much call it an all-season sport.
There you go. I think that's a good way to put it. But this hockey team, right? Number one fan expectation is improvement. I think that's fair. But the question is how much with Coach Riley? We saw this team beat the number one team in the entire world, you know, in terms of the college circuit, I should say. Maybe not the whole world. Would they play, you know, and be able to beat some of these NHL teams like the Golden Knights? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Jack Eichel would have much to say. He wouldn't like that very much.
I rephrase best in the nation. But, I mean, we saw how many wins last year. What's the expectation this year, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think improvement is absolutely the right word for it. The Bulldogs went through a tough stretch in December and January last year. I believe it was 12 games in a row that we lost, somewhere around there. And then boom, the switch was flipped at the end of the season. We made a run. At one point, it was a competition between us and Northern as who's going to make it. And then that was just, we smashed that. It wasn't even close at the end. We ended up winning a game. We were the only low-seeded team in the CCHA tournament to win a game. I think that says a lot about the coaching and the buy-in that they're able to get from the players. Now, there's not many returners on this team for next year. I think there's only 6, if I'm remembering the number correctly. So a lot of new players, a lot of young players, which is something we didn't have last year. No true freshmen on the roster a season ago. That's going to be a big difference is can the guys from major juniors bring that elite level goal scoring to the college level?
Yeah, and for reference as well, it's not like just everybody transferred out, right? It is a lot of it was we had
13 seniors that left, that graduated.
The most experienced college hockey team last year, a lot of seniors. So it's not like everybody's jumping ship on coach, like they just ran out of eligibility. So, and there's a lot of prime transfers coming in, which is going to bring a lot of excitement.
100% excitement and the expectation for improvement. Again, bring it back to that. But I really am excited for this squad. I'm curious to see how they gel. That can be a difficult thing when you have so much movement, but every team has that now with just the landscape of college sports. So you get those major junior guys scoring at the college level, it's going to be a really good team.
100%. Let's move on over to the hoop side across the hall at Jim Wink Arena. Let's talk about this men's basketball squad, then we'll get to women's. And the only reason men's first is because yesterday, a lot of fans got to meet Coach Miller for the first time at the golf outing, which was great. Heard some great things. Now, 10-18 last year with Coach Fod, and obviously the job that he did with the circumstances, right? Late season. Awesome job. I mean, we're wishing him nothing but the best from afar. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Coach Miller does year one with the more time. And obviously, he went right to the D1 ranks to pull in some guys from Eastern, pull in some guys from the MAC level. And this is a really good roster makeup because I think this is really like a year where we can see the pieces being put together with the length. You can kind of see the way he wants to play. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Coach Miller wants this team to fill it, so don't expect anything different from this Bulldog squad from what you've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, Bulldog fans aren't going to be surprised by the fact that we're probably going to press a lot of people. We're probably going to apply pressure beyond the midline. You know, it's going to be a long game for teams that come into Jim Wink Arena. It's going to be an athletic team that's fast, but they're deceptively long and big and can rebound and shoot well. And one guy that I want to keep an eye on is Keyshawn Johnson. I think he's going to have a pretty good career as a Bulldog. Didn't play much as a true freshman, but I like his game. I've seen him down in the weight room putting work in, and he's beefed up a little bit. So I'm excited for him.
Absolutely. Mine would be Dono, and that's just personal because he absolutely shelled me in a game not too long ago from 35 feet. I mean,
you just love the guy. Like he's just so fun to be around, an infectious personality. So big time rooting for Donnie as well.
For sure. Owen Hardy, those guys back. They're going to bring it and really gel this team together. Really excited. All right, let's go to the women's side. This is going to be an interesting year. And I don't think we're expecting, an absolute drop. If you ask Coach Westendorp, it's just a reload. And it's, losing the core. Caden Blanchard, Maya Hiram, right? All of these key players, Elle Irwin, right? You look at Allie Schultz and Emma Skierback. Big losses, right? Compared to what we've had the last 4 years with them in the lineup, if not starting in the lineup. So now you reload, and not only that, with Division II transfers as much as, adding some freshmen in as fresh recruits. And these are all very talented players, talking to Coach Westendorf back in April when we were hearing about, hey, that there's some of these players, and brought up some names that we knew right away that are good players from other schools at the Division II level. And so new names, but I think we're going to be seeing the same brand of basketball and the same expectations.
Yeah, the same expectation for sure. That certainly hasn't changed. I think the structure of the roster is going to necessitate some change in terms of the way that people are familiar with the roster, maybe, because A couple years ago, you think Mal McCartney, Chloe Idoni, players that have been around the program for 5 years, and you got Caden Blanchard, who was here for 7 years in total, I think, Mia Riley, Elle Irwin, players that were staples of this program for a long time. And this year, we're going to have some familiar names for sure. I think Bulldog fans should watch out for Mara Mitchell. She's in for a big season. Charlotte Miller showed she had a ton of poise as a true freshman, and others as well, but there will be a lot of young players taking the floor, and that's not necessarily what the trend has been the last few seasons. A lot of veteran leadership, players who've been around for a while. So I'm excited to see that influx of youth and how Kurt Westendorp handles it.
Absolutely. The athleticism is going to be there.
100%.
Fundamentals are going to be there. I think the number one thing is, we had some players that could fill it from deep. Can the new wave do that? That's my only question.
Yeah, you live and die by the three ball in college basketball. A lot of teams do, and that's been the way that we've found a lot of success, and that opens up the inside game as well for Chloe and Maya the last few years. So how does that translate? We'll see. Hopefully we can shoot 40% from deep.
Hopefully we do just that. All right, let's talk about track and field. We'll morph indoor and outdoor together as they are in consecutive order to save time, and the same athletes for the most part.
Right.
I think this is a really exciting year, and obviously Coach Frunna has moved on. Bryson did a fabulous job, right, really running that sprints and jumps program. And I think it's really going to the next man up or next woman up as far as who's leading that department. I thought the distance department did very well. The mid-distance crew, we mentioned it early on in the show, did a fabulous job. Long distance as well, had some really big successes. And they are willing to travel now further. And that's what's really exciting me is the expectation of where Bulldogs are going to be racing and competing are now getting grander, getting bigger. And so we should expect those things to be continually growing. And I think that's something that we're looking at in terms of all of the sports we've seen over the last couple of years, the national success, the conference success. I think it's track's turn. Call me biased. I don't care. I have the right to be biased, but I think this could be a big year for this group, especially if we see that influx of youth like cross country. A lot of these really good recruits that we've brought in from the past couple of years' success, them seeing it from afar. This could be a big year for them.
Yeah, it absolutely is a big year. And I think, yes, in terms of performance, standings, results, all those sorts of things, it can be a big year. But I think it's a big year for the development of a lot of those athletes. Like you were saying, Brandon, same thing in the cross-country landscape. Young athletes with all kinds of potential, their development needs to translate in their races. And I think it will. I really do trust in Coach Kelsch and Coach Kessler, what they did. I love that you shouted out Bryson for what he was able to do. And can we just appreciate Whitney Farrell?
Yeah.
Come on. So successful through her career. She deserves a huge round of applause for everything. Just the definition of consistency and elite performance. So if we can get a few athletes performing up to that level, which is going to be difficult to do because she had an amazing career.
Yes.
This is going to be an unbelievable season. I really do echo those same thoughts, Brandon. I know we've been saying it for the past couple of years, but I think that there's movement in the right direction, and that influx of youth can greatly benefit both those squads.
Absolutely. I'm looking at the sprints department, I think is the number one. Obviously with coaching change, how does that affect? You look at guys like Trevor Smith that absolutely ran tail off freshman year, right? And I think the distance department, we feel comfortable. We know what they're going to put out, and it's going to be successful. It's just that change is kind of, it's not like a giant question mark or an exclamation point as far of concern, attention, right? Are we in a position where we need to panic? I don't think so, but it's just going to be, are we going to see that same consistency as we do on the other side? Yeah,
consistency is always difficult. Doesn't matter what sport you're talking about. And health is the other thing. It just seems like the past couple of years, we've had really unfortunate injuries, either during cross-country season that have bled over into track, or indoor season when we're looking promising, and then all of a sudden outdoor season, it's like, oh man, we weren't expecting this to happen. And so if we can just get maybe a little bit of luck on our side as well in terms of injury-wise, I think both these squads, again, have just, the sky is the limit for their potential. I really do believe that.
I'm glad you brought that up indeed. All right, let's move over into spring now as we kind of transition with the combined of track, indoor, and outdoor. Let's talk about softball. Coach Schumann and this crew have done a fabulous job, right? Making the national tournament obviously was something they wanted last year, not able. And, whatever happened at that final conference game is up to you to decide. But this team played it as well as they could have in considering the circumstances getting against Saginaw Valley. Really, at the end of the day, this was a national tournament team if it wasn't for just those losses to Saginaw Valley. That's really all it is. But the offense. We're going to be looking at the defense, the pitching, the base running, right? Those are all things that I'm sure that we can see improvement. I'm not saying that we're not going to see improvement from the hitting side of it, but if this order stays together, together and keeps growing. My goodness, look out. On base and power, two best things in terms of getting runs across the plate, and we did it as good as anybody last year.
Yeah, when you think about the big hitters on this team, Alexis Kozlowski, Emma Gillard, Ava Gardner, there's not one of those players that was a senior last year.
No.
Kozlowski and Gillard are both juniors. They're coming back. And then you got Gardner, who, I mean, is she going to be the best player in the GLIAC this season? I think there's a legitimate conversation to have in that realm because of what she was able to do as a freshman. So you talk all the time about bid stealers in the world of college sports. You hear it all the time in March Madness, in the basketball field, but that's basically what happened to our team this year in softball with McKendry going on an unbelievable run. And so if it wasn't for that, we'd have been in the national tournament. Who knows what happens at that point? But I think this is a team that now it's not just like, oh, we're hopeful for the NCAA tournament. It's the expectation that they're on that bubble at least. And I think there's not going to be excuses from Coach Schumann. He's going to get back to the drawing board and figure out what can we do next year to make it not even a conversation of are we in? It's who are we playing?
Absolutely. I love that mentality right from this team. They're expecting it, and there's a lot of great recruits, some of them even local as well, which are very, very exciting names to bring in. And so this team's really starting to really get it together. I think the only thing, and I've told Coach Schumann this before, is just, when you have only a couple arms, you have that concern, right? One injury happens, you never know. But this year, as of now, it looks like we're going to have some depth there. So very exciting stuff. Anyway, let's move over now. Tennis, really good year for women's and men's. Men's obviously made it one step further to the national tournament, competing in Arizona. And I think it's really unfortunate to say is, we're going to expect this team to continue to do well. And it's not really like a full-on in-depth, every single metric analysis. It's just Coach Doran has consistently put out a winning program. We'll talk about that with Coach Stark as well with golf. We just see this team reload, this program reload every single year. So, should we expect anything different? I don't think so.
No, certainly shouldn't expect anything different. It's so hard when you look at these rosters year over year, and we can kind of just lump golf into this, honestly, because it's the same conversation. Yeah. When you look at men's and women's tennis and you look at men's and women's golf and you think, oh my goodness, how did they just lose half their team? And how are they going to figure it out? And then they do. And it's because we have unbelievably talented coaches and Coach Doran and Coach Stark that know how to get the best out of their rosters. Yes, they're amazing recruiters, and yes, they bring in good players, but those players still have to execute, and that's a lot to do with coaching. So we're going to lose some talent on all four of those squads for sure, tennis and golf-wise. But man, I think the standard has been set at competing on a national level. And I don't think that's going to change as long as those two coaches are at the helm. Absolutely.
You look at tennis, the Hernandez-Ferrer sisters, big losses there in just terms of their overall leadership. But Madeline Peasley, right, is there as a freshman. So you look there. Then you look at the men's side as well, and you see the same thing, right? You look at, obviously, what the Kovac brothers have been able to do, but you can even look further down than that. You're looking at some of the freshmen and that have played really well. Jose Perez, come on now. He was fantastic. So there's going to be names that you're going to be watching. And golf, the same thing. I think for sure the golf program might be on the women's side one that, you could be a little bit more concerned about just because, Lizzie Anderson, Cameron Shannon, all seniors, Taylor Musselman as well. So maybe not as many names familiar coming back, but still a lot of great players behind. Tomsma as well, as you look at Paige Anderson, have been staples there. And then on the men's side as well, there's going to be plenty of good players still going to be able to play at a high level. And so I think you look at a lot of these players, that are going to be playing well. Will Heavysides is one that I know was nominated this last year as, I think, incomer or rookie of the year, I should say. So, you look at some of those younger players to step up to.
Yeah, it's a fun challenge to have when you've got young talent that hasn't quite shown it just yet, but then also you're losing your top talent that has been consistent staples for the past few years, those senior leaders, those players that have been around for a while. And that's kind of the situation that we're going to be in for both of those teams. But when you're just, I just have the men's golf roster pulled up right here. Ethan Frost, he was one of the scorers in the NCAA tournament. And on the women's side, you have the Walkers who scored very, very well. And that's not even to mention tennis. You got Pranil on the men's side, and you mentioned Madeline on the women's side. So there's just a lot of young talent, those four names alone, that can be stars of a team. And how do you fill in all the pieces around them? Well, you have coaches that are the definition of consistently performing at a high level, and that's what we've got.
Absolutely. And obviously a lot to look forward to with their schedules and travel as well each and every year. All right, I did the counting, all the fingers and toes. We got two more. And of course, we save the newest for last. Cheer and Stunt. inaugural season, fantastic, nationally ranked. Coach Harris did such a great job with this group. We talked about it over the last couple of episodes when we've brought him up, and even Tatum and I when we had our last couple episodes of the semester. This team just never looked like a brand new team. They just never had the rookie jitters, the first year mess ups and mistakes. They just looked like a team that was, all right, here we go. Rinse and repeat, oil the machine. Let's go. Like, they were so good for their first year. And so I can only have excitement what's coming in year 2 with this group.
Yeah, it is really strange to think that from the outside looking in, and honestly, truthfully, a little bit from the inside as well, you didn't really know what to expect because it's such a new sport, at least for Ferris State, and you'd never seen the team compete before. Now, on the inside, we definitely knew what Coach Harris brought. Pramila is unbelievably passionate and intense, and you knew that you're going to get good competition, but it was just such an unknown. Like, the nerves are really pumping for that first meet, and it was really cool to see him beat Michigan, then Northern Kentucky on February 8, and man, it was fun. I think there's so much promise for this group. We have an unbelievable coach in Pramila Harris. I feel like we've said that for maybe every sport with the coaches that we have, but you look at the success of our teams and it's just, yes, the athletes are amazing, and yes, they get the best of themselves, but we have an unreal coaching staff here at Ferris State. We're very lucky, and she's the latest in the line of sports for the Bulldogs. So I can't wait to see what she can do for her second year.
It's going to be so exciting. And obviously we can say it, Brody, you and I, but we've heard it from Steve Brocklebank, Bill Pink, right? We've heard it from other coaches talking about other coaches, right? It is so infectious just to be able to see the leadership in one building, right? All with the Bulldog crest. Regardless of sport, there's success. It's how much. And you don't see that every place you go.
No, you definitely don't see it every place you go. And Dr. Pink said on the show last week, I don't remember exactly, so I won't try to quote him, but basically we're spoiled.
Yes.
In what we have here success-wise in the athletic department. And I think I just believe that it's so much to do with the people we have in this department, coaching-wise. Those people attract good people to come play for them or compete for them, whatever sport it might be. And that's how you build a foundational and fundamental successful program. And it starts even higher than that, the coaches, in terms of Steve at the AD level, Dr. Pink at the presidential level. And so it's, as you said, infectious. When that's the energy and that's the vibe, good people trying to bring the best out of young people, this is what we get. And Big Rapids, we are spoiled to have it.
Absolutely. And now we're even more spoiled because we have fancy buildings that we can hang banners from. Isn't that crazy? It's weird how it all works out, which, if you haven't seen the new facilities in terms of Stadium Hall, in terms of the Jim Crow Museum, get to campus. We'll look forward to seeing you in August. But for all of those that left, just seeing the shell of that dorm and they come back, oh, jealousy.
If you want to see them in their true naked glory, then come out right now. If you want to see them in a real game day environment, then wait until the first football game. But no, seriously, there's been amazing things that have happened on this campus, both in terms of physical buildings going up and then also intangible things like winning and success level in the athletic department. So I'm extremely excited for the direction that this university is moving. And I just can't wait to see the Big Rapids community back out here for that first football game and just look around at people in awe, scanning Top Taggart and being like, I have never seen this from this stadium before. I just think there's so much potential of what we're doing, and we're tapping into that, which is really exciting.
It's going to be so exciting. We can't wait for you guys to join us as we get closer, ever so closer to the start of the school year. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the rest, really, of the summer episodes. We got a couple more here in store, Brody, but it's going to be too fast. We're going to blink and it's going to pretty much be week 0 of football.
Yeah. We've kind of alluded to the fact that the summer always just blows by and all of a sudden it's done. And it's felt like at points, hey, maybe, we're kind of crawling along. We're getting there. Well, crawling's not really the right word anymore at this point. We're more like sprinting. I know you'd appreciate that as a former cross country and track athlete, but we really are sprinting towards the start line. Football athletes are reporting here in about a week. We got camp starting in 2 weeks. That's something we didn't necessarily think was going to happen right this instant back in May. And here we are. We're almost at that spot.
Yeah, it's not a crawl now. It's a slide. Exponential curve. You're starting at the top of the y-axis.
Yeah, sprinting might not even be fast enough. We got gravity doing work, and it's wild.
It's going to be great. You can obviously subscribe if you want to hear more. Big thanks to Brody for joining me. Big thanks to Johnson's Automotive. And we'll see you next week here on Behind the Bulldogs. Take care, everybody.